Welcome to Conversations Live, where we bring you the best in music, books, entertainment, and more. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 16 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience and those tuning in online. Have a real treat for you guys. We have the one and only Mario Van Peebles joining us for this next book to talk to us not only about his journey in acting, but also his work behind the camera as well. Had a chance to watch a movie that you guys will be able to see on Tuesday, June 2nd, called A Clear Shot. We'll talk to him about that and a really interesting connection to what we see going on in the world today as well. Mr. Van Peebles is very big on legacies. We'll talk to him about that, what it's been like for him to see the work of his own father, his children being able to see his own work and even working with them. And then, of course, we'll let you guys know how to stay connected with him as well. Mr. Van Peebles, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
It is a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me.
Well, really, I mean, it's really tense times that we're in right now, so I know there's a lot going on right now. This film, A Clear Shot, is a very intense film for sure. We're going to get more into that and the interesting parallel to where we find ourselves today. But I want to begin, since it is your first time on with us, to talk about this journey for you. As I mentioned, you've been able to do great work in front of the camera, behind the camera, be recognized for both. What has that experience been like for you, Mr. Van Peebles, to be able to reflect on this career and the lives you've touched over the years?
You know, it's interesting because my dad early on said, some fathers can teach you how to play basketball. My dad doesn't play basketball very well, and neither do I. He said, but I think I can teach you how to own the team. And what he meant was that he felt that he could help get me the education I would need to monetize what I love, to make a business doing what I love. And, you know, I was lucky. I got to go to college, and he supported that. And I wouldn't have made it through if he didn't put his foot on my backside a little bit. But eventually I've been able to say I love being in the entertainment business or show business and know enough about the show, and because I majored in economics, enough about the business to make a business doing what I love. And then I always say there are three loves in life. Love what you do, which I really do. I've been doing it for years. Love and enjoy the people you do it with. I try to work with people I get a kick out of, and sometimes I work with family and friends and family. And then love what you say with your work. See if you can make work that makes us think a little bit. You can entertain us. For example, New Jack City, my first feature. You know, if you watch it, it's entertaining, but there's some things that make you think. You know, when the Nina Brown character in Court says, you know, we don't have Uzi manufacturing plants in the hood, and we don't have poppy fields in the hood, so we can't grow drugs and make drugs here. We can't even make weapons here. But all this stuff comes in to all the urban cities all over America on a daily basis, and that requires the cooperation of some authorities higher up. So when you follow the money, you go, wow, look at that. So I think what was helpful was growing up in a family where you could make entertainment, but you could also think critically. You know, when I did Posse, to do a Western, but know that the West was really multi-culti and that there were, you know, people of all colors that built this country. And to show that in a Western in an entertaining way as part of it, to show that we can all survive together. We're all Americans. This is a beautiful country we have. So I like to use my art form to see if I can make people think a little bit while I entertain them. And so far, they haven't fired me yet. So what can I tell you, baby?
Right.
I'm still here.
Right. You're still here, and you mentioned just some of those roles, and it's something because, you know, even when I was prepping for the segment, I thought about you've been able to entertain, but also, as you just said, to make an impact through these messages. Yes, it is through television shows and film, but it really is about life. Think about even being able to bring to life Malcolm X and even other, you know, roles you've been able to take. Do you still have those wow moments at this point, considering you've been able to have such a multi-layered career, as I mentioned, in front of the camera and behind? Do you still have those moments where you still say, wow?
Oh, brother, I do, man. I have moments where I think wow all the time. I'll give you a case in point. I'm working on a piece about my family. And, you know, early on, Muhammad Ali and what his stance on, you know, the Vietnam War, and saying, I don't feel that it's right for me to shoot these poor Asian folks in the mud who don't obstruct me when I try to get a job, who don't hold me back and sick dogs on me, you know. And he decided as a conscientious objector not to go. So I was thinking about that. Later in life, I'm acting in the movie Ali. Will Smith is playing Ali, and I'm playing Malcolm X. Right. And my father had interviewed Malcolm X when Malcolm X was in France. But my two daughters were playing Malcolm X's daughters, and the real Ali came down, and we started talking, and he said, listen, if you can make my story now, how I stood up against the system, you could make your father's movie as to how he stood up against the Hollywood system and made his first movie, Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, independently, that became the top-grossing independent hit ever. And so it was Muhammad Ali who gave me the idea to do the movie on my dad. Now, if that's not a wow moment, I don't know what it is. So I have those moments where life exceeds your greatest expectations. And even now, like, I was just watching the TV. I was down at the protest the other day, and there's maybe two or three kinds of protesters. There's the peaceful ones that come out and they really mean well and they've got heart, and then there's some troublemaker knuckleheads, and then there's some other folks that we don't know what they're about. I don't know if they're outsiders or what that is, or I can't even speak on it because I can't figure it out. But the peaceful folks who came out was amazing, and the wow moment to me was to see all those different races and ages. White folks walking around with Black Lives Matter T-shirts, yellow folks walking around, helping. And my daughter was in New York, and she was giving out water to the peaceful protesters. And so that's a wow moment in America to me when I see that. Like Dr. King said, we all have to learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we perish together as fools. And when I look out in the streets and I start to see, and I'm talking about the peaceful protesters now, all these colors and flavors coming together and say, we care. This cannot stand. America's a beautiful country. We're not just trying to go back to something that was not great for people of color. We're trying to go forward to something. It's not about just the America we've been. It's about the ideal and the idea of the America we can be. So that's a wow moment for me that just happened yesterday. So I still have those all the time, and I suspect when I stop having them, I won't need to be here anymore.
You gave me a little permission, Mr. Van Peebles, to be able to talk a little bit about where we are today, considering the fact that this movie, A Clear Shot, that's getting ready to come out, has some interesting messaging in it as well. And your role in this as a negotiator in dealing with a very intense situation, the country right now finds itself in a very intense situation, and then still grappling with the pandemic on top of that. So I want to talk about what you just mentioned about being out there with the protesters, and kind of how art does imitate life in many ways, actually, in your career. I noticed when I was prepping for this. Did you always feel that sense of responsibility that you had to say something?
You know what? It's interesting. I don't think responsibility would really inspire me as an artist, but it's inspired by reality, and inspired by, early on as a kid, my family, my mom's white, my dad's black, I've got a gay aunt, I've got a Trumper in my family, so I have to love everybody. Politically, we don't all vote the same, we don't have the same melanin, we don't have the same hair texture, so it has forced me as a human being to love beyond my little tribe, which is, I think, a blessing. And so it's just an innate part of what I do. When I cast New Jack City and I wanted New Jack cops, I didn't just cast black or white. I mixed it up. I got Russell Wong, who's Asian, and Judd Nelson, who's Jewish, and Ice-T, and the prosecutor made her a woman. And I want to see all of us win together. So that's just something that I think is genetically woven into my, it's woven into my DNA, if you will. So I don't see it as a burden or a responsibility, but as an honor. And look here, I'm on your show, right? A guy like me, we get the mic for as long as we're popular. And if all you're going to do is talk about yourself and try to build and get a new car and send your kids to school, then get off the mic. You've got nothing to say. If you don't have anything to say, then shut up. You know what I mean? Take me. I want to see something that entertains me and takes me forward. And so yes, you're parallel saying that A Clear Shot is a film about a very intense situation where a group of young men who are angry and have kept it in, it finally explode. And look, here's the thing. Here's the thing about democracy. Democracy is like a great pot. And you put this pot on the stove, and you put Jews and black folks and Native Americans and Asians and Italians and Irish, and we're all in this pot. And you put the lid on tight. Well, after a while, in a democracy, the pot can explode. But art is a way of opening that lid and letting that steam out the pot. And because we are multi-culti society, we are a melting pot, you get great art and great music, and that manifests in itself. Look at all the music that came out of American art. So I get to work in that art form and then reflect it back on the context of what's happening today. And that's exciting. It's not a duty or a burden. For me, it's an honor, and it's exciting to see how I can show the relevance of it. As we know that history does not always directly repeat itself, but it rhymes. We saw this uprising after the Rodney King verdict. Not the Rodney King tape, mind you. When people saw Rodney King get beat up, there was no riots. It's after the not guilty verdict, when that all-white jury decided that Rodney King none of these cops were guilty. That's when people said, "You mean even when you have the footage, we can't get a break?" That's when people got upset. So I saw that, and I've lived through that in '92, and that's when my New Jack City came out right around the same time. In '91, when people were watching the Rodney King video, and then New Jack City came out that weekend. Well, now we've got Clear Shot coming out, and we've got the folks reacting now. So some of it, you say, wow, if we can't get this right this time and we don't solve it, it'll happen again. We got to solve it. And there's easy solutions. There's certain things. This fellow that put his knee on Floyd's throat apparently had 18 incites against him already. So I think if you're a police chief, and I've talked to my friends who are police officers who say, man, they should not have a guy like that on the force. If you've got someone abusive or sadistic on the force, don't let him make everybody else look bad. I played a lot of cops in my life as an actor.
Right.
And I've had the privilege of working with men and women who are first responders who are good people, black and white. And they do not like seeing what they saw with that officer who killed Floyd. They don't like it. They don't like seeing what happened with Breonna. So when I've had the opportunity to work with people like that and then play those roles, and as I am in Clear Shot, play a hostage negotiator and try to get to reason with them. And I'm not successful with all of them. You're not going to reach everybody. There's going to be some hardcore knuckleheads on all sides, or both sides, if you will, that won't make it. But a lot of us are reasonable. A lot of us can calm down and and say, don't just take a knee. Don't just go to the street. Make sure you vote. Vote in this election. That's how you make a difference. The fish stinks from the head down.
And I think that's the powerful thing here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about A Clear Shot. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Mario Van Peebles to our program today. He's an actor, producer, director, known for so many different great roles for television and film. A Clear Shot is his new film coming out Tuesday, June the 2nd. We're going to remind you guys of that. Of course, let you guys know how to stay connected with him, too. With this particular film, I had a chance at the end of last year to interview the director, Nick Leisure, about it and why it was so important for him to tell this story. And he shared, of course, his front row seat, of course, to where the idea for this story came from. What was it about this project that made you say you wanted to be a part of it?
Well, I had met Nick, and he seemed like he had a good heart, and so that means a lot to me when I meet somebody and I feel like they're trying on some level to do something bold. And he's admittedly a new filmmaker. And I thought that I could to him about the relevance that I felt the character could have, because as a hostage negotiator in A Clear Shot, I'm sort of between a rock and a hard place. I'm often across from people in A Clear Shot in particular who are disenfranchised, and then on the other side, I'm police force, and on the police force, like in every group, there's a lot of good folks, but there's a couple people who are bad actors, and
right.
I have to, without using a gun, but reach people with my thoughts and with my deeds, and sometimes go into that situation unarmed and say, look, man, I understand. I've been you. I, too, am a person of color in a country where every person on the dollar is white. Every person on the $20 is a white male. There are, every president, that we've had other than Obama has been white. And so we don't look like those in power. And when you are not, though, when you have a country that was sort of built on white supremacy, where there were acts of violence, there was looting committed against the Native Americans. I mean, the Europeans went out and looted other countries. I mean, imagine if I stole your TV out of your house. You'd say, that's wrong, man. But not only did I steal it, but I let everyone know I stole it, and I put it in my house and charged money to come see it. And that's what they did. They went to India, they went to Asia, cut off the Buddha heads, brought them back, and said, we're going to put it in something. We stole your stuff, and now we're going to call it a museum and let everybody come see that we stole it. So looting, has been a colonial tradition, man.
Right.
And so it's hard when people have been the victims of that for so long to tell them that that's not the way to respond and react back in kind, that you can't fight racism with racism. And so it's a real tricky role to play. So I like the complexities that were there inherently in the character of someone who's got to go in there and with compassion get someone to put down the gun, not hurt anybody, not hurt themselves, and not give the police, and some of the overzealous police, any reason to shoot you. And, when you listen to what Floyd's brother said today, he said, man, we don't honor my brother by looting. We don't honor my brother by reacting in violence to the violence that was done against him. We react to that violence by voting, by organizing, and by letting these folks know that we people of all colors don't think this kind of behavior is okay. So it's a real interesting character play. So I said, man, I'll play that character for free. And I didn't have to direct it, so it was good. I didn't have to do the heavy. Look at me. Listen, I get to go down there, shoot the movie. I don't have to direct it and do the heavy work. They pay me pretty nicely. Not that much. I'm an independent film this time. And I get to sit around with great people, tell stories, and play a character that I enjoy. How can you beat that?
Right. And it seems like you enjoy them all. And I think about even before this, when I heard about Armed, where you also played, a complex character, again, dealing with law enforcement, right, with those human components. I mean, you seem to really relish in bringing those to life, which makes you, I think, such a varied actor in front of the camera. I have to ask you, and again, I appreciate this time. Is there a role that you have not? Because you even were on one of my favorite shows, Z Nation. Obviously, you've kind of been all over the place. But is there a type of role that you still look forward to bringing to life?
Yes, and I don't even know what they are sometimes. I am surprised at every turn. So that's the nice thing about life is that you don't know the rest of the book, So people come up with me. I mean, I didn't know that I would, enjoy playing the guy in Z Nation or in Armed, like you talked about my movie Armed, where, I'm playing a good guy who's got a very sort of skewed sense of reality. And, and it was a real pleasure to play someone who has got some head issues. I'd never played that before. Overt head issues, more than the average, if you will. So I'm always surprised by I find new things and characters all the time. So it's not like I run out of them because I'll watch people. Sometimes I stand there and I listen to people and I look at them. Like even listening to you, I might say, well, maybe I'm gonna play Cyrus, man. So, but look, I'm also a guy that's gotten to play his own dad. Now, how crazy is that? That's psychotherapy on celluloid, man. I played my own father in Badass, and and in the script I'm writing right now, there's a scene where my dad interviews Malcolm X, and I played both Malcolm X and my dad. So to write the dialogue of two men that I've had the honor of playing is pretty amazing. And then one of the best roles I've ever gotten to play has been dad. I love being a father. I love trying to talk to my kids and see who they are and prepare them for what is out in the world, and obviously my sons are, black, and, I have to have that talk with them about when the police officer pulls you over, how you need to react. And that's an unfortunate conversation, but it's a necessary one. But I'm in a position where I get to play the police officer and then play the father talking to his son about what that experience might be like for you and how it might differ from, your white friends, and be careful about that.
Right.
And try to help America get to the next level. And we're at a place. Look, here's the thing: the pandemic, in a weird way, was almost in some sense like Mother Nature saying, "Hey, everybody, take a time out, go to your room, put a face mask on, go to your room, and think about what you've been doing." You know what I mean? And what were we doing before the pandemic hit? Well, we were burning up Brazil, burning the rainforest, which are the lungs of the planet. We were burning up Australia, and we were climate change denying. And now once we stayed out of the mix for a while, human beings took a chill and stayed home. The water cleared up, fish came out, birds came out. I talked to my brother in France. He said, "Man, the birds over here are singing, 'Stay at home, stay at home.'" So nature improves when we're in a pandemic, because unfortunately, from nature's point of view, because we have not aligned ourselves correctly with nature, we are the virus, right?
Right.
So in a weird way, we need the trees and the worms, and, we need the biodiversity, not just the ethnic diversity. We need the biodiversity to survive. So if I go back to my Dr. King quote, which I love to mangle, he says, "We either learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we perish together as fools." I would add to that, we learn to live together as brothers and sisters also in harmony with nature now, or perish together as fools. It's not enough for us to get our act together as various people on the planet. We have to do it soon. We are the biodiversity that we need to sustain life, including our life on this planet, is quickly diminishing because of us. So there's some real stuff out there to deal with. And if I'm a filmmaker, I want to entertain you, but if I can get you to pay attention to a couple things and maybe have you leave there going, "Hey, man, maybe I can make a difference. Maybe I can do that." Then I think that's my role as a griot, as griots of the storytellers of the tribe, and as a storyteller of the tribe, to try to tell a story that is relevant to all the tribes, and have a good time doing it.
And you've definitely been able to do that. I mean, you mentioned even going back before New Jack City and even to today with One Clear Shot and Armed and other projects, being able to entertain, inspire, but also to keep us informed. And that's why we appreciate you so much. Again, everyone, Mario Van Peebles has been our guest. Great conversation with you. Well, make sure you guys are looking out for One Clear Shot out on Tuesday, June the 2nd. All you have to do is check for your favorite online retailer for that. Also, make sure you guys are staying connected with Mr. Van Peebles. You can find him all over social media, just his name. And he has the blue check mark there, so you can easily find him there.
Y'all. I got my little blue mark, Mario Van Peebles on Instagram. Hit me up, and I actually answer. Folks hit me with stuff, and when I get breaks, I answer in between. And the movie's called A Clear Shot. Check it out, and then and hit me up on social media.
Mr. Van Peebles, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to having you back on the program again.
I enjoy talking to you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for the time, and we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. I want to thank our good friends at October Coast for setting up this chat, and thank all of you for listening in, both for our radio audience and those tuning in online. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Let's make the day amazing. Take care.